So now we're going to get into our biggie here. This is something that we've been wanting to do, that we thought about it, and we thought this would be a great time to bring up the Justice League Mortals. If you do not know about this, Justice League Mortals, it was a movie. It was a Justice League movie that was going to be made in 2007. It started production in 2007.
Yeah. Was
going to have a release date of 2009. That's 3 years before Avengers.
Yep.
And
disclaimer.
Yeah, just want to point that out. And because I heard, I won't get into that one yet. But anyway, and it was going to be directed by George Miller, the guy that did Mad Max and Happy Feet 2. So there's quite a jump there.
He did?
Yeah, he did Happy Feet 2. He did some other weird ass movies too,
right.
that you would not necessarily think that this guy would do.
Yeah.
Now a superhero movie. We had an all new Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, John Jones, and Iris Allen, and then our baddies of the group were Maxwell Lord and Talia al Ghul.
Yes. When I first kind of found that out, it kind of took me by surprise, but there's a reason for it as we get into the script, and it's evident.
And like we said, this was actually starting production in 2007. This is a year after Superman Returns. This is 2 years after Batman Begins and a year before The Dark Knight.
Right.
A year before Iron Man even came close to starting their cinematic universe. This was supposed to be a universe built and then branch off after that. They were going to have Superman Returns and all that other shit. It was going to be its own movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Dark Knight was going to be its own movies. It's kind of curious, though, if this was made, what would Dark Knight Rises do? Would they still use Talia al Ghul?
Right,
and it's kind of curious. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
If you're wondering who the fuck Maxwell Lord is, that's the question I asked. No, I do kind of know who Maxwell Lord is, but he's basically a telepath or psychic Lex Luthor. Think of it that way. A lot of money, but he actually has superpowers.
Right.
Ish.
Yeah. For
a reason, anyway, in this. And I think that's true to the comics.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I never had a chance to get into, because in the Supergirl TV show, Maxwell Lord is just a cheap rip-off version of Lex Luthor. That's basically, at least as far as I watched it, he didn't get the telepathic abilities or anything like that. In this script, he has a very interesting backstory, and it kind of evolves a little bit. It's pretty cool. That was something that I really didn't expect, and I don't know how close it is to the comics. Or not. I didn't get a chance to do more research on who he was. I just kind of remembered, okay, it's this guy. And that's what I pictured in my head every time.
So actually, we have a list here of the cast. Who was going to play your Superman was a guy named DJ Catrona. He was in G.I. Joe Revolution or Retaliation.
Retaliation.
Something like
with
that
the
with
Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
He probably died early on. No one really noticed who he was. Yeah. We have Megan Gale, who was going to play Wonder Woman. She was a supermodel from Australia. Shocker, they stuck with the supermodel.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny.
Whether or not she's hotter than Gal Gadot, I would actually kind of say yes. She had some pretty solid pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
Her suit wasn't as revealing as Gal Gadot's.
No.
But definitely, I don't know. We'll leave it up to you guys. Vote down below in the comment section or email us, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Hit our Instagram up or something. Let us know who you think is hotter, Megan Gale. I mean, I guess now if you compare them, it's a little different because now she's got 10 years on her. But you gotta look back.
Yeah. Look at the concept pieces.
And then we have what I think everybody has heard is Armie Hammer as Bruce Wayne / Batman. I think everybody's almost heard that. I've even heard that.
Yeah.
He was going to play Batman. He's actually got this little cool interview when he was doing the Lone Ranger, the biggest bomb of all time.
And his biggest hit. That's shocking.
And there's a reason why they didn't want him as Batman. But he was talking to the interviewee, and the interviewee starts bringing this up, and he talks about the suit.
Well, it seems like right now Hollywood being as hero crazy as they are, it seems like a guy who is a certain height and a certain build, they're going to come to you for these things. And I know you came very close to playing Batman at one point.
Yeah.
I saw some of the Weta suits for that.
You did?
That was a crazy.
Where'd you see him?
A friend at Weta, and it was fascinating because they really went very different than anything. While this is very traditional.
Did you see the bat suit?
I saw the bat suit and I saw the Superman suit
with all the carbon fiber and all the mechanics and springs and pistons on it.
That's what seemed like it was really Miller wasn't afraid to shake up what people know about those characters.
Well, what we did was we got down there and George Miller was basically like, we're going to push these DC people farther than they are ever going to be comfortable with. And then the DC people showed up and looked around and they were like, this is farther than we're comfortable with. but we love it, and you can do whatever you want. And then it just went even farther. It was great. Yeah.
And it's just cool. It's just cool how he freaks out, and that the Warner Brothers execs were freaking out about the whole thing. And we'll get into the whole story here. I haven't heard too many people go into major depth on this, which we're hoping to do and keep it at least in a reasonable time frame. So we'll do our best. Then we have Adam Brody as Barry Allen as the Flash. We have Common as John Stewart as the Green Lantern. We have Santiago Cabrera as Arthur Curry, Aquaman. Doesn't sound very seaworthy. And then I'm Hugh Key Breen.
Burn?
Breen?
Who Keys Burn, I think.
Okay. As Jean Jones, the Martian Manhunter. And then we had Zoe Carzon as Iris Allen. And Jay Burchall as Maxwell Lord, which I've seen him in a couple like dorky little TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I at least know who he is. And then Teresa Palmer as Talia al Ghul. Those are kind of like the ones they had casted. There's a couple other ones that cast as well. There was a Wally West in this one. I don't have the name for that one, but unfortunately that guy has passed away. I'm not sure why.
I think so. I
believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. I believe he's already he passed away somehow. Very young guy. So this was also written by Michelle and Kieran Mulroney. We'll just go with that. Apparently, I don't even know if that would be a husband and wife, sisters, brothers.
I would think husband and wife. That's what it seems like. I don't know. Did you happen to see if they were credited for or were credited for anything else?
Yeah, they were credited for something else, and I can't remember what it was at the time. So we're just going to move on from that. But it had other writers. George Miller was also penciling a couple things as well. But it also was planned to have a budget of $300 million. God damn, this is 2007, before superhero movies really started kicking off.
Yeah, exactly. And they wanted to make this big. So, real quick, just to backpedal a little bit, Kieran Mulroney, the person we can't fucking figure out how to pronounce his name, was a writer on Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that kind of would have been interesting to see.
Some of the concept art that you can actually find online, it's very limited. It's not like the Superman Lives, because John Schnepp has exposed that movie and brought light to that movie. We were able to find a lot of concept art and a lot of cool different things on that. On this one, really all I can personally find, you see a Wonder Woman costume fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have Megan Gale with the costume on. It looks very CW-ish. I don't know if they were going to enhance it a little bit with some CGI or something.
The skirt especially. I didn't mind the
breastplate.
I didn't mind that, but the skirt that kind of threw me off. That looked really tacky.
It looked really bad. Then there was a Martian Manhunter face mold. I don't know if he was going to wear a mask, because it's an old white dude with long white hair. It looks like Doc Brown, and I don't know if he was going to wear this as a mask or something, or it was going to be a CGI character, and they were using this mold to maybe for some prosthetic looks or something like that. Or he was just going to be a voiceover. Not quite sure. Then you get to see some Wonder Woman battle art. She's like taking out a NASCAR because NASCAR sucks. There's some art of Themyscira. I believe that would be Themyscira, because from what we read in the script, she's in Themyscira, and it was showing her fly over it. There's some Aquaman costume art. It was all done by this company named Weta. WETA. They were doing everything. They were building sets, designing costumes. They were doing it all. And apparently, one of the things I read was they were only focusing on Justice League. They shut down all their other projects. They didn't take any other movies at the time. They were solely focused on this one and doing everything. And then there's some really cool Superman. And here we go. Superman versus Wonder Woman storyboard art.
Yep.
There is a point in this where Superman and Wonder Woman fight.
Yes.
And they beat the shit out of each other. It's kind of similar to the Zod Superman fight. They go through a lot of buildings. Yep. They go up into space, but Wonder Woman's ass goes into a moon. The moon.
Yeah.
We only have one. Her ass goes into the moon, and the fight continues. So, and there's some badass storyboard art. If on our YouTube, I'll throw some of those images up there. And it's really cool. He really fucks her up.
Yeah, a lot of awesome storyboard art. So some of the sources: Tower of Babel by Mark Waid and I should have known that. Tower of Babel by Mark Waid and Howard Porter. This is now infamous tale where the Justice League are defeated because someone gets a hold of Batman's files on everybody's weakness. The OMAC Project by Greg Rucka and Jesus Says. This was another matter of Batman's good/bad intentions backfiring, as his satellite, the Brother Eye, as referred to in this Mortals script, that was built to monitor the Justice League, ends up activating cybernetic sleeper agents all over the world, OMACs, at the behest of Maxwell Lord. So very similar, to this script. How the script starts is at a funeral scene,
right?
And immediately it kind of paints a picture of Superman died, because it talks about the S and how the S is very
doesn't stand for hope.
Yeah, no, not in this case.
No, it stood for something else, and I can't remember.
Yeah, but but it paints this picture of the iconic symbols and the S, and so you in your mind you're thinking, oh, Superman dies. And then, there's a eulogy going on by Wonder Woman, and then it backtracks and says 2 days ago.
Yep. Yeah. So like we talked about in the sources here, it definitely emulates some of the essence from the Tower of Babel, where Batman's ideas to counter the Justice League in case they go rogue is predominantly in this. And then Brother Eye and OMAX, the one-man army corps, is in this, where people can get taken over and be turned into robots and shit like that. And it's a very interesting concept because there's so many different layers going on here.
Yeah.
In this. And the way they handle this with the superheroes is they already exist. They're not the Justice League, but Batman, Superman, all of them are in their own little areas. Gotham, Metropolis, Coast City, Central City, all that. They're all in their own world. They're not their own world. They're in the same world, but they're all in their own cities, and they kind of know each other, but they don't really interact, and they're not working together in any way.
Right.
So this is where it kind of showed to me like there was this kind of I don't want to say older Batman, but you could tell he was a little bit more established in the script. And this is why he's keeping an eye on them. He's keeping an eye on all these metahumans that could possibly go rogue.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, it gets to the point, I guess this is a good time to jump in, but the reason Maxwell Lord is the villain in this, and you're kind of thinking like, man, that seems like a dumb villain, because early on in the script, it basically puts it out there, Maxwell Lord is the villain. He's going to be the villain in this movie. It doesn't, it's not a big spoiler or anything like that. And that was one thing that I was wondering. I'm like, man, why him? Why him and Talia al Ghul? That seems like a odd pairing. Well, it eventually gets into it because that's the exact reason, is because it is an odd pairing, and you wouldn't. They are less suspected. Maxwell Lord isn't really that well known. And so there's a part, a really cool part where they're rattling off like, where's the Joker? Oh, he's in Arkham Asylum. Where's Lex Luthor? He's on, I can't even think
Stryker's Island.
On Stryker's Island. Superman took him there himself. All of these guys are kind of established. They've all like wrapped up all of their, their main villains.
And this is the starting Justice League movie.
Right.
They basically, what I kind of took as they rolled over that Justice League animated cartoon, which ended in 2006 with Justice League Unlimited, and it kind of like they rolled those characters over. We have the Jon Stewart Green Lantern, just like we did in Justice League.
Yep. And real quick, Hal Jordan actually is dead.
Yeah, there's like a memorial or museum or park.
Yeah, there's a memorial park, and that's kind of the only Easter egg you get. But it's like, okay, he's obviously passed, and Jon Stewart, I think was walking past it or something like that, or viewing the plans or something.
He was
something
going
that had
through
to
the
do
park
with
for something. Yeah, damn, can't remember exactly.
Actually, I think he was going over the plans, like because Jon Stewart is a
architect.
That's
what the other thing was weird. A lot of times, from I remember right, like he's a Marine or he's former military in some manner. That's why Jon Stewart is usually a little bit more strict and stuff like that, and less fucking around.
Yeah,
but in this, he's an architect.
Yeah.
Played by Common.
Right. Yeah.
Common's an architect.
Right. Yeah. Let that sink in. Yeah. So the part with Hal Jordan is he's going through, Jon Stewart is with the Ring kind of constructing this park and how he wants it to look. And that's when you get the glimpse of Hal Jordan Memorial Park, and he's got kids playing, and kid can't reach the monkey bars, so he's like, oh, maybe I should make him a little bit shorter. So it's kind of cool, the different way of utilizing the Ring's powers. I thought that was really intriguing.
They give Green Lantern some time, but mainly the predominant Justice League character they focus on is the Flash.
It is, yep.
And it was very weird to me, like of all the big names that you have in here, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern to some extent, they focus on the Flash. Iris Allen.
Yeah, Iris Allen in this, and you get kind of a lot of really cool relationship with them. Wally West shows up, and you get this really cool ping pong battle that they have where they're throwing these ping pong balls and they're just going crazy. And so Wally West has the same powers as Barry Allen.
Yeah,
it's just like really cool development, and there's some dialogue and kind of good relationship with the Flash. So I thought that was different. That was unexpected.
There's some moments with like Wonder Woman on Themyscira. You kind of get an idea of what she's like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very brief looks at each character and what they are in their environment. But really the focus comes down to the Flash, which I thought was really interesting. It was truly different that they focused mainly on one character. And they kind of pushed the story along around that character.
Yeah.
Kind of like from his perspective,
right.
Almost. Kind of from the Flash's perspective. So as the story moves forward, we started seeing the story develop. And the first one to get affected, like we said, this is kind of based off that Tower of Babel type storyline where all the superheroes' weaknesses are being used against him. John Jones, he's a detective in Colorado. Wow, way to go.
In Denver, Colorado.
Is investigating a crime scene when he discovers a jar containing what looks like a seahorse. I get what they use the seahorse for later on, but it's kind of weird that it looks like a seahorse.
Mm-hmm.
When he removes the seahorse from the jar, the creature sprays him with an unknown substance that causes him to burst into flames. So it's very similar to the Tower of Babel. Like they, no matter what, and no matter what they're doing, because we're also going to talk about Justice League Doom.
Yeah,
they want to set him on fire.
Right.
So they constantly are setting him on fire.
It's his biggest weakness. In this specific scene, the only thing I can think of was Michael Bay type action. Because you get John Jones basically catches fire. He drives 90 miles an hour, clips a fuel tanker, then goes through a guardrail and into a fuel depot that explodes. The fuel tanker explodes as well. So I was like, what the fuck? This is all at the Denver International Airport. So I was like, okay, there's going to be just a lot of... It reminded me of either Michael Bay... 22 Jump Street or whatever, 21 Jump Street, when the fucking thing of chickens that explodes. that's what it reminded me of. So it's kind of interesting.
And then in New York, see, like we were talking about, it's actually, I'm just now realizing sort of that they're using real cities in this script. They're not using Metropolis. They use Gotham. But I don't think they use Metropolis, Central City.
Well, they use Metropolis at the very beginning because that's where the funeral is being held.
Right. Okay. But yeah, they're not using like Coast City for John Stewart. I get, and they're not using like Central City for Flash. I don't think. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that they're actually using real cities for this. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't think they are using. I think they're using Denver for Flash also. I'm pretty positive that that's where. Yeah, because that's where there's actually this restaurant, which
Planet Krypton.
Yeah, Planet Krypton, which I thought was kind of a cool concept.
Yeah,
that they're all over the entire world, and it's it's like this burger kind of a
McDonald's.
Little bit. Well, they make it seem more like a Chili's if you have one of those in your area. It's like a burger place,
baby back.
An Applebee's, if you will, and
Waffle House,
and there's a it's a superhero themed restaurant. So, you have the waiter comes around, and that's when one of the points when you first meet the Flash.
Yeah.
And what the thing that I liked about the Flash's character in this is he was, for lack of a better term, a mark for superheroes.
Right.
Even though he is a superhero, he doesn't really think that he's a superhero.
Kind of like what we're seeing in some of the Justice League trailers, where he's really shocked about meeting Batman.
Exactly. Yeah, so they kind of continued that concept a little bit, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that throughout the entire script as he's meeting the different heroes. As the script kind of develops, and he's surprised at all of them as he's meeting all the different superheroes, and he has dialogue with them, and he's just in shock.
Yeah.
And then they eventually go to the Fortress of Solitude, and he's like, what the hell? I'm going to the Fortress of Solitude, and then he tells Wally West in excitement. So I thought that was cool. That was really cool.
So John Stewart, he's an architect, like we talked about, in New York, and apparently he's doing that thing where I guess some weirdos do, where they bite down on a pencil, and he's trying to do stuff, and somehow he ingests something comes off the pencil, and it causes him to go blind. which is very similar to the Tower of Babel, but it was Kyle Rayner was the Green Lantern in that one, and he goes blind as well. This is kind of weird to me that they used that in the Tower of Babel where he goes blind. John Stewart goes blind. But if you watch the Justice League Doom movie, they do a totally different approach, and I actually prefer the Justice League Doom version over these, because I don't understand. Maybe it's something that I'm not quite getting, but I don't understand how blindness really affects a Green Lantern.
Fear.
It says that, I guess, they could panic, and maybe, but it says his constructs go crazy and start destroying things. So he's like freaking out, and he's still able to perform constructs. But in Justice League Doom, there's like a fear toxin, and fear is the weakness to will. Yeah, exactly. So it makes so much more sense in that
absolutely. one. I thought, if we're just touching on some negatives, I thought the way that they were affected in this was kind of cheesy.
Yeah, I think they would have perfected it. Remember, this is just a first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'll kind of get to, at the very end when we're, kind of summarizing. I'll get to my summarizing of this whole movie, but that was one of the things I was like, that's it. Like you happen to be biting on a pencil, and then that's how you get infected. And there were just certain parts where I was like, that's stretching.
Manhunter gets squirted by a seahorse.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is an innuendo.
Yeah, right. I guess so.
Basically, Flash and Wonder Woman are in Denver, and they're able to subdue the Manhunter by constantly fucking pissing on him, I guess. It says streams of water, but I think they're just pissing on him.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And that's some weird Bukkake video shit right there. It continues. So they're trying to calm the Martian Manhunter. Bruce is greeted by his friend and owner of the planet Krypton. The owner of planet Krypton, Maxwell Lord. Talia al Ghul also mysteriously appears at the party. Oh, Bruce Wayne's party, by the way. He has a birthday party. Kind of like in Batman Begins, where he tells all those people off.
Oh, yeah.
Has his party there.
Yeah.
But it was Ra's al Ghul in that one.
Right.
And
so there's a part where he's in the Batcave, and he's using his satellite, known as the Brother Eye, to kind of spy on all the heroes. So he has tracking on every single one of them, which is kind of interesting that he's able to do that, but, I digress. And then Alfred shows up and says, hey, you have a bunch of guests. There's a birthday party upstairs.
Yeah, get your ass up there.
Yeah.
And that's when Brother Eye starts doing his thing.
Yeah.
And that's when this whole thing really starts going, is when he's not at the computer. Brother Eye starts doing what he's basically programmed to do, and that's when all this shit starts going down. Basically, Wonder Woman and Flash get Manhunter into like this pool, this bathing pool, to keep the flames down. I don't know. But Superman takes the seahorse and takes it down to Atlantis because he thought it was Aquaman,
right? That
gave him the poison seahorse.
Yeah, well, he says that he wasn't accusing Aquaman because Aquaman gets into this big old tiffy about,
I do things for the land, and you're coming down here
and they just pollute my water, and
I got a boner for Wonder Woman, and you just want to make me feel bad. I know you're banging her soups. I know you're doing it.
I know it. So
just because I can't perform like you.
But he shows up, and and he's just questioning, like,
I have given my pound of flesh. I wrote that quote down. Well, he says that.
Yeah,
because he gives up his arm, and he has and this was weird. Something. He doesn't have a harpoon arm, and in this he has a water arm.
Yeah, which eventually
magical water arm.
They kind of I had a hard time envisioning this.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, I was like, how they use it, they utilize it. There's a reason he has to have it. A little bit later, but it was really hard for me to envision how the fuck they were gonna pull that off.
Yeah,
and like how does that even?
I don't think he from what I could tell, he wasn't in the script a lot, so maybe that's cheap. He's just not gonna be in there a lot.
I guess
they definitely made Aquaman kind of irrelevant in this. Yeah. And the other thing they did in this was Batman gets his ass kicked a lot.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. He I don't think he had, other than the ending, he did not have a moment of decent offense in any of this shit. He gets his ass kicked constantly. Eventually, he confronts Maxwell Lord, and Brother Eye turns a couple people into OMAX, one-man Army Corps, and they beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
And he barely makes it out of there alive. And then
the thing that I liked about, because I definitely noticed that the thing that I liked about it, other than just the fact that our good friend Mike is a big Batman fan and Batman's getting his ass whooped, is you have to kind of separate the two. You have to show this is why Batman is, he has the Brother Eye, and he wants to make sure that in case shit goes AWOL, that he has a plan in place to take down other members, or, before it's the Justice League, but all these other metahumans. And they did a good job at kind of painting the two different sides of, like, Batman is having a hard time keeping up. And, you have all these super beings who have all these powers, and that's the reason that he has to have this plan.
Yeah, and then again, the getting the affected somehow by random things is Aquaman gets stung by a mosquito, and it gives him aquaphobia, so now he's scared of water.
Right. Yeah, but conveniently the mosquito, I guess it was being controlled, is the only thing I can think of, because Brother Eye, now being controlled by Maxwell Lord, knows where everyone is, and so he's watching them, and then I guess he sends his little robot mosquito, stings him, and he has aquaphobia. So there's some stuff that's stretching a little bit, when it comes to that. When they get to the part, just going back to the Aquaman's hand, he is it Green Lantern that he like basically drowns him sort of with his water hand.
Yeah,
and then that's how he's able to pull out the parasite that's in his brain.
Yeah, that's causing the blindness.
Yeah. So that's where that eventually comes into play. Other than that, there's no reason for it.
Well, the water hand also causes a nice little shield for Manhunter. Because it keeps him, he covers himself in it or whatever, the hand.
Oh, that's right.
He throws the hand off because he's got aquaphobia.
Right.
And then now Manhunter just gets out of his bath, throws that on him, and it covers him so he's not burning anymore.
Yeah, not in a constant state of burning. Yeah, so
eventually they're able to travel all the way to the Fortress of Solitude. I would have liked to seen how they did this, because this is actually, the traveling in this kind of reminds me of Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're bouncing to all these different fucking places in a matter of no time. But I mean, first they're in Denver, then they're in New York. Then they're in the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh man, yeah. It was, and also the way that the script was written is they wanted simultaneous conflicts between each of the heroes, and when they're all getting infected, so it's jumping all over the place. There's part where there's dialogue going on, and then it jumps over to something else. So there's a lot of we're here, now we're here, now we're here, and then now back over here. Kind of that stuff. So
yeah. It gets very weird. Eventually, they get to the Fortress of Solitude. Batman tells them that Brother Eye's been taken over, and this is what's happening to him. Wonder Woman decks Batman.
Right.
Which is great. That's what I mean. He's just constantly getting his ass kicked. He had to do something very similar to Dark Knight Rises, where he's using, like, enhancements to keep his body moving.
Yeah.
Because he got his ass whooped by Omax earlier, so now he's using, like, cybernetic enhancements to stay standing. And then Wonder Woman punches him. It says drops him down to a knee. I'm like, bullshit. You would be dead.
Yeah, pretty much. She was holding back.
She must have feather punched him.
Yeah.
And then again, the way they contract these viruses or these things gets a little weirder again. Flash receives a cell phone call from who he believes is his wife.
Yeah, because so at one point, this is going back to the Flash kind of marking out. So he goes and he tells Wally West, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to the Fortress of Solitude." And then there's also this other weird part. So he goes and he wakes Iris up out of a sleep, and he's like saying, "Hey, I'm excited. I'm going to the Fortress of Solitude." Then he starts shaking his body, and or vibrating super fast as he does to pass through walls and anything physical. And he passes through Iris West, and now he's on the behind her, and she says, "Don't tell anyone that we do that." All right. So, and even the way that the script is written is like all the way through her. I'm like, what is that? What is this? Is that like some innuendo? So
maybe she's supposed to moan.
That's kind of what it seemed like, because now he's behind her. Don't tell anyone we do anal. Like that was almost like that.
You tell who we vote for.
Yeah. So, and then she gives him the cell phone and says, and he's like, "That's bulky. I don't want to take it." And she's like, "No."
Hide in your
that's
butt
what
cheeks.
she said. That's right where my mind went. So she says, it's so that I can feel like I'm with you at all times.
Yes,
like a butt plug.
You'll never forget a butt plug.
Oh man. So anyways, carry on.
Oh fuck, where were we?
So he gets the phone call from the butt plug.
Yeah.
And then that's how he gets some shit sprayed on him.
and Jesus Christ. And then
I'm on a roll.
And then if you want to call it that, sure. And then anyway, but like you were saying, I think they were using that vibrating thing to wow. Anyway.
See what I mean?
Everything is just going to come out wrong right now. Anyway, so he begins vibrating so much that he actually starts literally falling through the planet.
Yeah, so this part I was kind of confused on, but go ahead.
Yeah, you think you get halfway and core.
Yeah, so the way they describe it is they're like, oh shit, he's going to go all the way through and through the core, and they're like afraid. And then at some point, if the way that I interpreted it,
it sounds like he's just going,
yeah, but how is he like rotating around? Because Wonder Woman eventually lassos him.
Right.
So I was like, okay, did she throw her lasso down and he didn't reach the core, and that's how she pulls him back up, or did he go all the way down to the other side of the earth and then loop around like you said? And then she like what happened? I was really confused by this. It just I don't think they did a very good job. Something they probably would have had to elaborate on or kind of fix, you know, with storyboards and whatnot. Once they tightened up the script a little bit, you know, cleaned it up, that might have been a part, because that was really confusing.
Yeah.
I was not sure what the fuck happened.
Yeah, it was really weird. So Batman ultimately leaves the Fortress of Solitude. Apparently, he just fucking takes the front door. It just talked about him leaving. Like, there were so many details. I guess they were probably going to fill this in. But it's just so many details of how they get to where they get. It's just so random sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's like he just leaves. He's trying to figure out what's happening. Why is Brother Eye being taken over? What's happening? Basically, he realizes in a moment that Talia al Ghul, in the middle of a kiss, like spit something in his mouth or something.
yeah. Again, fucking weird
and
shit.
Of course, Batman's a swallower, so he just fucking takes it all.
Or full load. So he goes back to
that, which he's along with.
Yeah. He goes back to the Batcave, and he's trying to, as he's doing his research, all of a sudden Love pops up on, because he's trying to hack into it, and then Love pops up on the screen, and
yeah.
you know, he's like getting denied access, or, you know,
Brother
earlier
Eye's
on,
like,
and
access denied.
Yeah.
Access denied.
Right. So Brown Eye
Danger.
saying access denied.
Danger, Bill Robinson.
So you know, him and Alfred, they bring out all these computers. They're trying to have these backup computers. They're trying to hack into his own system that he set up, and eventually Love pops across the screen. And then that
didn't come from Batman or Superman. Damn it. Love is what I got. Remember that. Love. Okay. Anyways.
Yeah. So anyways, that's how then immediately it goes to a flashback of, her spitting her load into his mouth, and now he's infected or some shit, or, oh no, it was a tracker. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a tracker to get him back to the Batcave. Which real quick, I was kind of disappointed. I gave it a little bit of some slack in Justice League Doom. You really don't know how they know how what's his name, Vandal Savage. Yeah, Vandal Savage knows that Batman has all the weaknesses of the Justice League, and so it is kind of just like you just accept it. But I gave it a pass because it's. It's an animated film. In this, I was waiting for it. I'm like, okay, how the fuck do they even know that Brother Eye exists? Yeah. And, and all this stuff. This is the only thing I can think of, is that they just trace him back to the Batcave and then eventually hack his shit. And then they're like, oh, this is cool. There's Brother Eye. Oh, this is cool. He's got all their fucking weaknesses. Thanks, Batman.
Yeah, and there's other things we can exploit, which we'll get in more here at the end of the script. Apparently, everybody's chilling in the Fortress of Solitude, all trying to fix each other. Manhunter uses some of his telepathy to help Green Lantern do a surgical procedure to remove the nanobots from Flash's spine, because that's what happens. They attach and he starts vibrating. Mm-hmm. It's successful from him. It successfully stops him from vibrating. Next, they do the same to Aquaman, which cures him of his aquaphobia. It's just like all of a sudden Deus Ex Machina. It just all of a sudden everybody just cures each other. They're all helping each other out.
Yeah, they went to the Fortress of Solitude because they figured, it's the fucking Fortress of Solitude. No one's gonna be able to find it. Yeah.
Or polar bears.
Right, polar bears. Yeah, exactly. So that's the reason why they went back there, and then this is the part, where they're trying to help each other and, put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Basically, Martian Manhunter has... I didn't know, actually, Martian Manhunter has laser vision, but according... he has laser vision. He bounces it off of a mirror that Green Lantern makes and cures him of his symptoms of combustion. So somehow he he fixes that. Aquaman reclaims his water hand, which he then uses to cure Green Lantern to restore his sight. So like you talked about. So it's just everybody's all happy. Wonder Woman takes Flash back to Planet Krypton restaurant in order to consume enough calories to get his strength back. So,
oh yeah, that's right. Because he was vibrating so fast, he was burning all these calories and getting very weak. So then she takes him back to Planet Krypton, and it was funny because they even put in the script that they're still in their suits, but they fit right in because so is everyone else.
It's a superhero themed.
Yeah.
And then basically Wally West somehow dumps a bunch of exposition on the story talking about OMAC, the One-Man Army Corps project, and basically the dealings with nanotechnology and robotics, blah, blah, blah. Several children were experimented on, and this is where it goes into, we get a backstory now about Maxwell Lord. You know, several children were experimented on in order to see if humans could be turned into psychic warriors, soldiers with an ability to control the enemy with just the power of their minds. All the children in the program except one, Jonah Wicks. Wally runs a picture of Wicks through the forensic aging program. God damn it. To see what he would look like today. The result, Maxwell Lord. So it turns out these kids that were basically used as guinea pigs.
Yeah.
You know,
it kind of reminded me of Logan a little bit. You know,
X-23.
Yeah. It was kind of along those same lines. That was the feeling that I got. So that's a cool concept. And then Maxwell Lord was pretty much the sole survivor, and then that's where he gets these telepathic abilities.
Batman basically confronts Talia al Ghul, realizes she can't really be the mastermind because she's a woman, so there's no way she could figure this stuff out.
Wow.
Yeah, hey, you know, it doesn't say why. He doesn't. So basically, it kind of keeps going on. Wonder Woman and the Flash see a news report about OMAX attacking the Capitol. Basically, now people are starting to turn into One-Man Army Corps. They're turning into those robots that beat the shit out of Batman.
Yeah, normal citizens.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Wonder Woman receives a psychic message from Manhunter about Batman and flies off to help him because Batman was basically stuck with Maxwell Lord and Talia al Ghul.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go save his ass because he doesn't do jack shit in this fucking story.
Right. And the reason why all these people are turning into these OMACs is because you eventually find out.
Reveal.
Yep. Is Planet Krypton. So Maxwell Lord, you know, they've served over 1 billion burgers or whatever it was worldwide. And that injected everyone with something that eventually, once he triggered it, boom, you know, then they'd start turning into these robots. But the robot was just kind of a casing, so all the people were still underneath them. That was also kind of confusing because I guess maybe the stuff that they're consuming, the robot that comes down, that it finds those. I guess I was confused.
It's like
about
nanobots,
that.
And I think this is part where the Brother Eye stuff kind of comes in. It's also controlling these OMACs. I think.
Oh yeah,
I think this they corrupt the system and be able to activate the nanos with the Brother Eye. I think that's what this ultimately kind of came down to. Basically, now this is when the big finale. This is when the third act kicks in.
Yeah.
And it's the big fucking finale. Wonder Woman and Superman arrives at Maxwell Lord's hideout. And this is the big thing. Maxwell Lord, because of his psychic abilities, is able to control Superman. So we got a mind-controlled Kryptonian going apeshit on Wonder Woman. And he sends... Maxwell Lord specifically sends him after Wonder Woman.
Right.
Beat her ass. And he is literally beating her ass across all of wherever the fuck they're at.
Yeah. And as Matt said earlier on, it is very Man of Steel-esque. That's exact feel I got for it. There's a part where the 34th floor of some fucking building gets devoured, you know, and so it's shit gets wrecked.
Aquaman comes up out of a river and tries to break it up for a second, gives Wonder Woman a chance to go back to Maxwell Lord's hideout. Superman dives in there, finds Aquaman in some fucking trout, and he beats the shit out of all of them, leaves them dead in there in the Hudson River, fucks up Aquaman. Aquaman, like I said, is pretty much dead weight in this whole thing, just like Batman. It's kind of funny who they focused on.
Yeah.
The battle gets so fucking intense between Wonder Woman and Superman. Superman breaks Wonder Woman's wrist.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if this would have made it through or not. Like, you can talk about this stuff in a script. Would they literally have a dude breaking a woman's wrist in a movie?
Right. I don't know.
And it'd be PG-13 anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I do not know if they could actually do it. Maybe they pull it off camera, make just the sound. I don't know. I don't know what you can do. One of the cool things is Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, he makes a construct of Superman from his ring.
Yeah, that was pretty
Green
cool.
Superman versus Superman, and they go at it. And eventually, the real one always is going to win. So basically, he beats the shit out of Green Lantern. Then Martian Manhunter attempts to stop Superman by shapeshifting into into an image of Kal-El's mother, Laurel. Superman, however, sees through the deception and just knocks the fuck out of his mom. This is Manhunter, but he just beats the shit out of her, basically. So fuck your mama, you're not my real mama. I miss Ma Kent. And eventually they find out the only way they can stop Superman's rampage is by killing Maxwell Lord. I mean, no one will seem to do it. Wonder Woman won't do it, but Batman says, fuck your couch.
Yep.
Gives him a little pop.
Breaks his neck, and then
WB has a neck snapping fetish.
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess that's the only way.
Two villains.
But it turns out that doesn't kill Maxwell Lord. Well, it kills him. It kills the body anyway.
Right.
He's able to somehow transfer his consciousness into a supercomputer.
Yeah.
Into Brother Eye, I believe, and he's able to control now all the Omacs. And he actually takes over Flash's body.
Right.
The person that's consumed probably more of the planet Krypton food than anybody turns into like this Ultra Omac.
Yeah, and that's actually what they call it, Omac Ultra.
Yeah, it's cool. The third act in this thing is just awesome. I give it to him on this one. It's just fucking phenomenal, and it sounds awesome. And Flash realizes that the only way he's going to be able to stop this is basically killing himself.
Yeah.
It kind of was stated earlier in the thing that if you hit beyond the speed of light, you basically disappear.
Right.
And he basically just starts hauling ass. I'm sure it's going to be, if the movie was made, it'd be a big moment where music is swelling, and he probably looks by Iris West, You Are My World. Just fucking goes around.
Yeah.
And he basically runs so fast, hits the speed of light, and just poof.
Yep. And the OMAC Ultra, that's kind of encasing him, explodes, and then he takes off. And then his suit kind of fades down, similar to
Crisis.
Yeah. Infinite Crisis?
Yeah, Infinite Crisis. Just like that. The costume just flutters away.
Yeah. And then I think in this, Batman catches it, so somehow it flutters right to him.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have that It's just that inspirational moment.
Right.
Like, oh god. And then we find out that's who the funeral for was 2 days prior. Ultimately, the movie kind of has Wally West step into that Flash. Just like that, they'll just switch to a next one. Next Flash.
Moving right along.
All right, next. And then the movie would have ended with them noticing, they kind of decide to all team up, and they find out Starro is coming down, and they go, all right, let's go get him.
Yeah, and then they all start, and even the way that it describes it is they're like, okay, now we're all gonna, there's some, arguments of like, if Batman should have been a part of the Justice League, and, all this sort of stuff, and then, eventually they convince him, and they start taking off towards Starro. Yeah,
it's a cool story. It's a cool story. There's a lot of cool quotes from different, from the actors that were involved in this. Armie Hammer has a lot of them. He's probably one of the most predominant guy, and so is Burchall, the other guy that was going to play Maxwell Lord. He was talked about a lot. So one of the quotes that I want to bring up, there's several of them. Maybe in the YouTube one, I'll post them up, or maybe we'll talk about them in a later episode, because there's so much information, and it's just we're running out of time on this. Maybe there'll be a part 2 to this going into Justice League. Maybe we'll talk about some of the quotes. But one of the big ones I wanted to bring up was George Miller, the director. He was talking about why this project ultimately got canceled. And people bring up all the time that DC got cold feet, that they saw what Iron Man was going to do, and they didn't want to do this. There were so many things made up, and it was just...
Per usual.
It was just people trying to justify their reasons. But George Miller basically came down to saying... he was quoted multiple times here about different things. That was a whole bunch of complex events. It was in the middle of a writer's strike. There was an Australian rebate legislation that was required to get the film going. It was just a whole complex series of events. No one's particular fault that it didn't happen. So there's like a legislation rebate, probably for taxes, because obviously these film studios are looking for the cheapest place to film their movies, and there was probably some kind of legislation thing going through to where they were going to get a deal to film in Australia, and it probably wasn't coming through.
Right.
There was that writer's strike that affected a lot of things, and WB kind of wanted some fine-tuning to the script, obviously, after what you just heard us talk about.
Right.
There needs to be some fine-tuning.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah, that kind of kills it. The way the movie progressed is in January 2008, Warner Brothers announced the film was on indefinite hold, allowing options to lapse for the cast, meaning basically their contracts expired. The studio felt the script needed perfecting, which was impossible because 2007-2008 Writers Guild of America strike. I mean, they were down in Australia. There's other quotes in here. They were down in Australia. Weta built sets. They had costumes for a majority of these characters. They were going. They were doing rehearsals. Armie Hammer was talked about doing rehearsals, and they had him doing things as Batman. They were literally doing things on set on purpose to make him paranoid, like the Batman that they wanted in this. They wanted him to be paranoid and shit like that.
Yeah, I did remember reading that they did like 3 months of preparation of like action scenes and stuff like that they were preparing for.
Yep.
So yeah, there was a lot. They were gunning for this. I would like to see something similar to the Superman Lives documentary. That would be really cool.
In February 2008, it was announced that production would go to Canada, despite George Miller's wishes to keep production in Fox Studios Australia. The filmmakers are still adamant for a mid-2009 release date and hope to have filming start in mid-July of 2008. Was what they were hoping for, and it obviously never happened. They were trying to go to Canada. He didn't want to film there, and it's just a bunch of other bullshit going on. And they could never, but we could have had at the time 3 Supermans. We would have had Tom Willings' Smallville, Brandon Routh's Superman Returns, and DJ Catrona.
Yeah.
We would have had 2 Batmans, Christian Bale and Armie Hammer.
Right.
It would have been. It would have been just a weird concept. This whole thing would have been just weird.
It sounds like that was one of the reasons, too, that WB was kind of like, do we want to do this where we have, like, almost 2 different timelines? Or, like, you would have the Superman Returns, which there was brief talks of, like, a sequel, that something was set up in that.
This was announced before that sequel was probably ever even canceled.
Yeah.
Because it's early 2007.
Right, yeah. So at that point, there is going to be a sequel. That there's going to be a trilogy with Christopher Nolan and Batman. So, you kind of get into like different, kind of some of the, clickbait bullshit that what people think is going to happen now. Yeah. It sounds like that's what might have happened then. I also feel like it fills in some of the gaps as far as why I know there was the Dark Knight trilogy, but there was a big gap between Superman Returns and the release of Man of Steel. And before that went into production. And this is kind of why. This fills in the gaps of like, no, we were ready to go on this Justice League movie, but it just went to shit. And so then they got to start over. Okay, now what do we do now?
This just goes into that long list of aborted DC movies.
Yeah.
We had Batman Beyond that was going to be made in early 2000s. Batman Triumphant was supposed to be Batman 5, basically. It was another Schumacher movie. Joss Whedon's failed Wonder Woman script. Justice League Lives.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman
Lives, yeah.
And then this Justice League Lives. Justice League Mortals. I mean, it's just like all this material that they have. In some of the research I was doing, I did see that there was a documentary. Some people were hoping to make a documentary similar to Superman Lives about this movie. Last thing I see they tweeted about was in 2016, and the Facebook page doesn't exist anymore. Apparently they were having issues with WB trying to get copyrights permission to
that sucks because it seems like Schnepp got plenty, like anything he wanted to use.
These are probably just some kids and stuff. Schnepp had ties with like Kevin Smith and others. Probably.
That's true.
It was probably a tad bit easier for him to get his foot in the door, at least to talk to somebody. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think we'll see that documentary anytime soon.
Yeah.
You have to live with what we did.
Kind of going back to last episode, last DC episode, what Matt said when we were doing Superman Lives is this would be another example of doing an animated movie.
Right.
Like you've invested money into this, you have a script, you kind of have concept art. I'm sure there's a lot more than from what we've seen.
Right.
So, why not? And to be honest, just a quick summary. There's some parts in here that are stretching a little bit that I could see in a graphic novel, a comic book series, or in an animated movie. In a live action, I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how I would have interpreted it. Maybe back in 2007, 2009. I could have interpreted it a little bit better than I would now. And that's kind of along the same lines. Why not now utilize this? You've already put as a corporation all this money into it. So might as well do it as an animated series or an animated film. Sorry.
I love the ambition of the script. I love the idea that they were going to go with a nobody Maxwell Lord that not many people know about at the time. I mean, Dark Knight Rises wasn't out, so Talia al Ghul is not necessarily a home name at all. The concept of the Omax and the Brother Eye and the Tower of Babel concept of Batman basically his plans wiping out the Justice League and shit like that.
And just the fact that this is going to be the Justice League. There's so many characters that you haven't even seen a live action version of other than maybe Smallville, or whatever, or the shitty Flash TV show and, just stuff like that. You are going to get the Justice League.
I like that they rolled with it. They had some balls on this one and they were going to do it. Some things happened, things canceled it. But I like the fact that they were just going to fucking do it. Because I remember when you and I were in high school, we would always fan cast the Justice League movie.
Oh, yeah.
We always talked about that. I think I had like Denzel Washington or Will Smith as Jon Stewart.
Yep.
We had Jim Carrey as the Flash.
Yep.
And
nice. You're
I remember we used to talk about the chick that was in Texas Chainsaw. At the very end, when her tits were fucking bouncing around and she was in the white tank top.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember her name, but we used to think she would be a great Wonder Woman.
That wasn't Jessica Biel, was it?
I'm not sure. And if it was, she was actually in contention, according to some of the research I did. She was in contention to be this Wonder Woman, but
that's right.
They chose this Megan Gale girl.
I'm pretty sure that's who we were fan casting. It might not have been her. Maybe it was someone else. But yeah, we used to any movie we would watch that we would go to. We're like, oh, you know who they would be good for?
Yeah,
and then kind of fan cast them that way. So it would have been perfect. Right in the realm. So yeah, they needed some fine tuning on the script for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, there's some stuff that was stretching a little bit. As far as the creativity and, a little out there, but,
I mean, the characters and everything were fine. The villain I thought was very well established.
Yeah.
Somewhat. But it was just how everything was going down was weird.
Right.
These nanos and shit like that.
Yeah.
Crawling through cell phones, and magical seahorses and shit like that.
A pencil.
Yeah. Chewing up, gnawing on an eraser.
That was probably the worst one.
Yeah. Probably. That was pretty stupid. I don't know, the mosquito flying.
Oh yeah, that one was pretty brutal too.
Aquaman,
but
it's like all the things that could happen. And he just gets snailed by
I could
a mosquito.
buy like controlling a mosquito, I guess, over. All right, this is going to be his pencil that he's chewing on. Look, he's already chewed on it a bunch, so he's going to chew on it again. That just seems weird.
I'm just picturing Common just gnawing on a pencil. I'm blind. Fuck.
Lead poisoning.
So, I don't know. I thought it was cool. We'll see what happens with Justice League, because I'm thinking we might see a couple things.
Yeah.
I might be willing to go say that there's gonna be a possible Superman versus Wonder Woman fight.
Yeah, based on some of the stuff we talked about
Danny
earlier.
Elfman's comment.
Yeah,
we might see that, which
ruined it.
Pretty sweet. Ruined it. Fuck you.
Yeah. No, I just mean it was like he threw that out there that we kind of already knew,
and then we repeated it.
Oh, I was blaming Danny Elfman, not us.
Yeah, but we're repeating.
Yeah, well, we're just the detectives, like finalizing, like, oh my gosh, this is what's gonna happen. Yeah, and DC or WB, I should say, they do they'll take certain things. It seems like they took the fighting in this script and
neck snapping.
Yep, and neck snapping brought it over to Man of Steel. So, yep,
some of the fighting. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they do. They piece all this stuff together, like we talked about with Superman Lives.
Yeah,
there's some aspects in Man of Steel. It's like WB's probably got these endless amounts of scripts that they've probably paid for.
Yeah.
And so much source material. And like we've said, I think they should adapt these into some animated movies.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I think it would be worth it. And I think people would want to see this. Like, hey, this is that possible Justice League that was going to happen. This is a possible Superman, Batman Beyond. Maybe make whatever that one was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, what else is it doing? Yeah. Sitting there, you paid all this money, whatever it was. I'm sure some of the actors got paid. Obviously, the people got paid to write the scripts. George Miller maybe got paid something. Who knows? Yeah. And you've already put all this money into it. Concept art, yada yada yada. Might as well put it to use.
Definitely go read the script.
Yeah.
Check it out for yourselves. You just don't listen to us talk about it. It's kind of entertaining.
It is.
It has some aspects.
Absolutely.
It's a fairly easy read.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It goes by pretty
definitely.
fast.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where I found the PDF. Just search for it. Don't sign up for anything. Eventually, you'll be able to find the free PDF somewhere. Mm-hmm. I remember I had to fight through a little bit to try to find the free one. but it's out there.
It's 128 pages, so that's the one that you're looking for.
Yeah. It starts out with the Superman, the S means this,
right,
so forth. Like, I forgot what the fuck it said. It wasn't hope.
Yeah.
It meant something else. I was like, well,
that would have been
you.
great. They're like, yep, Pluck, we'll take that too. Hope.